Once you know the way broadly, you see it in all things. If I had to advise only one technique for facilitating awakening and deepening wisdom, it may be this one. Expansion and contraction, black and white, day and night, yin and yang, masculine and feminine, self and not self, form and emptiness, attention and awareness, conscious and unconscious, thing and nothing. Expansion and contraction is not only the subtlest experiential distinction, but also exists at the grossest, highest levels of mind as well. And to really understand what expansion and contraction relate to is to intimately get at the duality, the codependent arising nature of things, so that ultimately you can synthesize and transcend them. Now, how can we meditate on expansion and contraction? Well, first of all, we want to develop a sensitivity and acquire a taste for its many different flavors. This means starting with grosser versions of it and then working with subtler versions of it. Now, somatic sensory stimuli can give us very clear insights into expressions of expansion and contraction, because we can easily sense in the body such things as pressure and release, tightness and looseness, heaviness and lightness, and rising and falling, for example. And in particular, breathing gives us a very obvious example of expansion and contraction. So when I breathe in and when I breathe out, it's a very obvious example of expansion and contraction in experience. So if we take the breath as our meditation object and choose to focus solely on its expansive and contractive elements, we can begin to really familiarize ourselves with expansion and contraction. So you're sitting in meditation and you're going to decide to focus on just the expansion and contraction associated with breathing for a designated period of time. And this can be however long you like. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour or more. And in the beginning, you may want to accentuate the breath, making those signals of expansion and contraction more salient and easier to pay attention to. And then as you develop your sensitivity, you can allow them to die down and you can notice subtler and subtler versions of expansion and contraction. Now, this may seem like a concentration technique, and it is of a kind, but I would frame it more like a synchronization or calibration technique in which we're tuning into certain frequencies of expansion and contraction that are already there and aligning our awareness with them. Eventually, if we do this long enough, over time, the system begins to harmonize to that frequency of expansion and contraction. And we can get this effect of a full body-mind experience absorption of those oscillations. Now, as more and more parts of your experience begin to sync up with the flow of the expansion and contraction you're tuning into, they will unify and cancel each other out, leading to an unfolding defabrication process of mind. However, if you don't have enough metacognition here, it can put you more in a trance or hypnotic-like state, in which case you're likely to miss a lot of the insights that can be gleaned during this process. Eventually, we want to be able to notice expansion and contraction in everything at all levels. So even if I simply feel a sensation in my body that has a slight intensity factor that grows and shrinks, my attention itself focuses and defocuses, focuses and defocuses. I want to be able to understand expansion and contraction in sounds. If there's a sound in my environment, that's appearing and disappearing. A good meditation for understanding expansion and contraction in terms of sounds is listening to bells or gongs, they ring and they have a very obvious oscillation to them. And once you've identified that, then you can begin to detect it in all sounds, including the sound of my voice as I speak now, if you can find it. We also want to see expansion and contraction in the visual field. And even taking this understanding off the cushion, out into the world, and seeing expansion and contraction in the social sphere, your relations, and greater understanding of the world. Quickly, one major utility of doing this kind of training is it can help you to disambiguate physical pain from psychological suffering. If you have an acute pain, try putting your full attention on it, and you will notice that the intensity of the pain expands and contracts. It will be more intense, less intense, more intense, less intense, in a predictable manner. And by fully getting your attention in phase with those waves of intensity of the pain, it takes out a component of psychological suffering that comes from surprise and not really understanding the experience of the pain. And if done well, this can work like a moderate dose of morphine. This is seriously worth knowing about. Alongside this meditation, it is important to strengthen your sensory clarity, and not just in focused attention, but also in peripheral awareness. Because without it, you will simply be noticing expansion and then contraction, or contraction and then expansion, one after the other, where it is precisely the clear apprehension of the whole of experience which allows you to recognize simultaneous expansion and contraction, leading to what I call the superposition perception of enlightenment. Okay, there we have expansion and contraction meditation explained in condensed, contracted form. I hope you incorporate this into your practice and into your life. This stuff is so deep. And if you would like personal help with your meditation practice and journey into understanding the nature of mind, you can go to my website and book a call with me. I'm here to help, and I would love to help you. And please join my Patreon, where I'm releasing loads of meditations every week of all different kinds. I think you would really enjoy them and benefit from them. It's a small investment and just a very healthy way to spend 50 minutes of your day. Okay, so thank you very much. Take care of yourself and be good. Bye-bye.